So a whole family lived in here?
Mm-hmm. Whether they be 6 people, 8 people, they would have all lived here. There's an upstairs, which if you're brave enough to go up there, you're more than welcome to.
Was it really this small?
Mm-hmm.
Can we go up there?
Yeah.
And how many families would live in here?
Who wants to go up with me?
Just one
This
at a
would pretty much
time.
be one family, but it might be.
Cool. Wow. Up there standing up.
Is this the original place or
No, it's a replica.
Come up here.
I really cannot like these stairs. Knowing me, I will fall.
Well, that's 2 extra beds.
Yeah.
Tori, be
4.
careful.
People could sleep underneath.
Oh yeah, there's plenty of
Oh
room.
my god.
Lots of spider webs too. Not a lot of room up here.
Oh, you could have warned me first. Oh, I would love to see that.
What?
Spider? Freak.
Doubtful that they would have had a stove like that. They probably wouldn't have been able to afford it. They would have had a regular stove. Hey, Jeff. Giving a tour.
Well, nice.
Yeah, they're doing some historical paper for their
Local history.
yeah, for LS.
Thank you.
Well, for their class. So I thought, well, I'm getting the key. I might as well show them the tenant house.
Yeah, the tenant house is great. The rule is they have to go upstairs.
Oh, I just sent them upstairs. Yeah, it was kind of creepy. The other thing that this house has is a basement, and it's actually 6 feet deep, like a cellar.
Is it under
I
there?
was stepping on
Like a
it.
storm cellar?
Yeah, like a put food or something.
Like that sneakers commercial thing?
Special trick. Probably got a catch there.
Get it? Okay, stay right here. Let me see if the alarm's on.
Oh boy.
And it is crap. I'll be right back.
That would not be good.
They said it was one in the pictures, but I thought it might be upstairs. I can't remember.
It says it was the cold spot was by his picture.
Yeah, there's 2 portraits. There's one upstairs and there's this one. Now, I think that one is the more, the one upstairs might, I don't know if that's a reproduction or that's an original portrait. Something else that's original here is called an Order of Cincinnati, which is something to show that he gave outstanding service to the country. These are his actual epaulets from his general's uniform. They have 2 stars on them, which meant that I think he was a major general. I can't remember. And the portrait, they only have 1 star on the epaulette, so he got a little,
Yeah.
When is that?
That's the 26th and 27th of December. Okay, so if you have a family room, this would have been it. This is like the heart of the house, where the majority of the kids would have spent a lot of their days. The boys would be learning reading, writing, mathematics, etc. The girls would have been learning to run a household. They would have been learning fine needlework, not necessarily functional needlework to make gowns and things like that. They wouldn't have been making their own clothing. They would have learned fine needlepoint and stuff to show that they could be a good spouse. It's set up for dessert. The chairs are what they call at rest. When the chairs weren't being used, they put them against the wall, so they were called at rest. We have a floor cloth, and that's to keep the carpets from getting dirty because they didn't have vacuums and things like that. The floor cloths are not common back then, but these are period true. There's a company in Red Line that makes heirloom reproduction rugs, and they have patterns from the 1700s. And we have on inventory, when the house was sold, they inventoried everything on the first floor, room by room. So we know the rooms had rugs in them and things like that in the hallway. And upstairs they had a more general inventory of what was up there, so we kind of had to guess which room was what. Now, at one point, we thought we had a picture of a girl in that window, but it turned out that there was somebody here that day. We have a portrait of George Washington, because not only was he the president, like a rock star, still after, he only served one term, and then he said, no, I've got to leave it, other people have to take over. But even up until his death, he was one of the most popular people in America. He was just, a presence about him, and people really admired him. So it wouldn't have been unusual to see his portrait hanging in a lot of different homes, but especially here because he was a friend of the family. And they had met, not at this house, but they had met in the city during a 4th of July celebration. And the Hands, I believe, had gone down to Mount Vernon to visit him also. My girlfriend Edna, she was standing outside waiting to come in. There's a buzzer out there. You ring the doorbell and someone comes up to let you in. She said she heard voices on this side of the door, people talking back and forth. But nobody was there, and she kept buzzing the door, and finally someone let her in, but nobody else was here but the caretaker, so.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Hey.
The beds, again, Edward Hand was roughly 6'3", 6'4", but they slept upright, propped up on pillows, because they were afraid that if you lay down flat, you might suffocate in your sleep. So 2 people would have fit in there just fine. Any questions? No? There's a basket. Where's the basket? I guess it's that basket over there. Somebody has said that the basket tops go off and on. So they put a camera in here. I don't know if you guys got that link. Did you get that?
I did, yeah.
Did you get to look at it?
Mm-hmm.
Did you see it when the camera
Yeah,
flipped?
the camera.
It just flipped. They were standing out in the hall, the group. Ray, who's the police officer, and the Tech Eye group. There were 2 people out here. You could hear them talking on the video. The camera's set up here on the basket, and I don't know, within, 15 seconds or so, all of a sudden it just flipped. It didn't go off the table. Everything was fine as far as they could tell, but they heard it move. So for whatever reason, it moved. This is also the room where the people that called me from New Hampshire, I guess, or wherever they lived up there, said that they saw a male figure looking out toward the road in military gear that I couldn't exactly see on the picture. So. And talking and kids, with various voices. By our #1 office person, Nancy Bradley, which is Ray's wife, and she also was here on the overnight paranormal thing. A couple years ago, we were cleaning out this area and revamping it, and somebody was taking pictures, and my girlfriend Edna and I were here, and as you can tell, there's no ambient, no outside light whatsoever. They all came up with orbs on them. We don't know what was going on. Some of them would have orbs, and then some of them wouldn't. Yeah, it was really kind of bizarre. So this would be a place to take pictures and see what you come up with. They had asked one time, there was a wedding going on up at the house. It was rather loud. And one of the girls on the team asked, what do you think about that? And the reply was something like, I don't, think it's very appropriate or something. It was a very odd reply to her question, but it fit if you thought about the time period. They wouldn't have had, raucous parties like that. Not usually. Not So. Any questions? The only odd thing we've ever had happen is that hutch. Both sides were unlocked on the bottom, and then all of a sudden one side was locked. And it never unlocked. So we don't know what happened. That's the only thing I've ever had. Odd that happened.
That's awesome. What are you doing?
And we tried to unlock it too, and we can't.
Why don't you just reach in there?
No, because it needs to be unlocked by the key.
I don't know.
We don't know how it got locked because we don't have keys. And it doesn't have,
Little latch thingy.
yeah, it doesn't have a latch thing. And I tried to pick them off and everything, it just won't.
Give Natalie Jones.
It won't come really.
Show.
Because I have yet to experience, after 7 years, I haven't experienced a thing, nothing. So, I'm curious to have something happen.
You're aching for a half day.
Yeah. Well, we could ask them for a knock. Anybody knock for us?
Oh, wow.
Over there.
No, you should have seen it. On the camera, everything got fuzzy.
I heard a knock, I swear to God. What is that?
Okay, you have a boiler.
Okay, but it was a knock.
Okay, hold on.
I am not the person to have
You were trying to talk to us. If you were knocking, finish this off. That sounds like a heater. Just give us 2 knocks.
Didn't fuzz up this time.
You got us intrigued. Can you move anything? Any knocks, please?
water or something.
Oh, good.
Something's dripping. I hope.
Yeah, the faucet's back there dripping.
Is that what it was?
What?
See the flag moving?
Probably from the wind or air. Or someone walked in. Sometimes these old places are just drafty.
Well, oh my gosh, it's very drafty here. You notice that we had the curtain at the top of the steps? Because it gets so cold. And they'll start a fire down here, or they'll turn on the heat, but, I mean, upstairs it just dissipates because it's the high ceilings and things like that, and the wind really goes through. But they keep the curtain up there to at least try to keep the heat down here a little bit.
That's smart.
Yeah. So as soon as
Especially in the summer.
yeah, as soon as tours were over last week, the curtain went up. So, well, in the summer it gets it's very nice down here. It stays relatively until we start cooking.
Okay, I was just gonna say until you light that.
Until we light the fire, we try to do things outside, but oh my gosh, there are sometimes when you're cooking in there, it's just blazing.
I can't even imagine. Oh my goodness.
Does anybody else want to ask?
When I lived alone, is there a ghost in my